and you thought your family was bad. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 epic sibling rivalries of all time. For this list, we're taking a look at famous historical siblings whose rivalries are the stuff of legend. However, we will not be including fictional or mythological siblings a la Cain and Abel. Alright, let's get to the list. Number 10. LaVerne, Patty, and Maxene Andrews. This trio of harmonizing sisters produced a slew of hits across 5 decades, landing them atop the list of the best-selling female groups of all time, with a staggering 90 million records sold. While you'd be hard-pressed to label a music trio whose primary genre was boogie-woogie as vindictive, you'd be surprised by just how nasty the Andrews sisters could be to one another. Their most infamous spat revolved around the youngest sister Patty leaving to join another music group while failing to inform LaVerne or Maxene. After LaVerne passed away in 1967, Maxene and Patty hardly spoke. In fact, they had zero contact between 1974 and 1982, only breaking their silence after Maxene suffered a heart attack. Number 9. Liam and Noel Gallagher. The feud between brothers and former Oasis members Liam and Noel Gallagher has been well documented. From Twitter fights to courtroom fights to literal fights, there appears to be no arena in which these two ornery brothers will not duke it out. In 1994, Liam infamously struck his older brother with a tambourine, and there eventually came a point during their Oasis run where they could no longer do joint interviews, lest they start throwing punches at one another. The band may have split up in 2009, but the feud between these two is still going strong, with Noel stating in 2014 that, quote, "An Oasis reunion is not going to happen, unless they're doing it without me, but without me, it would be rubbish." Number 8. Jim and John Harbaugh. Now, this must have made for one awkward Sunday dinner. In the early 2010s, brothers Jim and John Harbaugh found themselves coaching for the NFL's San Francisco 49ers and Baltimore Ravens respectively. This wouldn't constitute a feud on its own, but things got infinitely more complicated when the siblings squared off in Super Bowl 47. John Harbaugh's Ravens ultimately came away with the victory, and while the two brothers exchanged a few words following the game, they reportedly didn't speak for quite some time afterwards. John later told reporters that beating his brother was, quote, "the hardest thing I've ever experienced." Not to worry, they've since mended their relationship and are reportedly stronger than ever. Number 7. Dave and Ray Davies. The Kinks owe their success to brothers Dave and Ray Davies, who formed the legendary English rock band in 1964. However, the Davies were known as much for their infighting as they were for their musical prowess. The brothers engaged in numerous physical altercations, including one incident where Ray threw curry at his brother. Dave once remarked, quote, "As the years wore on, the struggles became greater, the battles more brutal, the mind games more intense, weirder, and the lows much lower." One of those lows involved them arguing over who created the iconic guitar sound for their song You Really Got Me. However, in 2018, the band announced that they would be reuniting to work on a new album. All's well that ends well, right? Number 6. Harry Houdini and Theodore Hardeen. In the beginning, Harry Houdini and his younger brother Theodore Hardeen were a team, performing under the name the Brothers Houdini. However, it wasn't long before Harry became a solo act, leading Theodore to change his name to Hardeen, which stood out but still sounded similar to Houdini. From that point until Harry Houdini's death, the brothers had a professional rivalry that never veered towards anger or hatred. In fact, Hardeen was the only person that Houdini ever let copy his tricks, and when the latter died, he left his brother all of his props, gadgets, and effects. You see, not all sibling rivalries are nasty. Number 5. Venus and Serena Williams. Few siblings throughout sports history have managed to accomplish as much as these two. Venus and Serena Williams have a combined 30 Grand Slam titles, a feat we doubt any sibling duo will ever be able to match. Over the years, the hard-hitting and ultra-competitive sisters have squared off 8 times, though it's hardly something they look forward to. Perhaps Serena summed up her feelings about playing her sister best when she quipped, quote, "If I win, I'm not super excited, and if I lose, I'm really not excited." Well, we'll say this, you don't want to be staring these two down in a game of doubles. Number 4. Rudolf and Adolf Dassler. Once thick as thieves, German brothers Rudolf and Adolf Dassler would eventually grow to despise one another, with the inciting incident reportedly being the result of a simple miscommunication. The Dassler brothers were shoe manufacturers, and good ones at that. At the 1936 Summer Olympics, they outfitted most of the German team with their product, and even managed to get Jesse Owens to wear a pair of their shoes. However, when World War II started, so did their feud. The story goes that during an air raid, Adolf referred to the Allies as, quote, dirty bastards. But Rudolf took this to mean him and his family. Soon after, their company was in shambles, and both men decided to start new ones. Perhaps you've heard of Puma and Adidas. Number 3. Olivia de Havilland and Joan Fontaine. Some sibling rivalries take years to develop, while others are there from the very beginning. For legendary actors Olivia de Havilland and Joan Fontaine, it was the latter. The two Academy Award winners were said to have started their feud at an early age, when they would compete for their mother's attention. In 1942, both women were nominated for Best Actress, but following Joan's win, Olivia failed to offer her sister any sort of congratulations. Worse still, when their mother died, de Havilland reportedly failed to notify Fontaine for weeks, causing her to miss the funeral. Fontaine put it like this, quote, "I married first, won the Oscar before Olivia did, and if I die first, she'll undoubtedly be livid because I beat her to it." Number 2. Cleopatra and Her Siblings. Few historical figures evoke the same level of interest and curiosity as Cleopatra. The legendary Egyptian ruler was best known for her beauty and cunning, but she wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty if it meant moving up the political ladder. This reportedly included offing 2 of her brothers and her sister. The first to bite the dust was her brother Ptolemy XIII, who, fun fact, was also her husband. He exiled Cleopatra, big mistake, only for her to return with Julius Caesar years later to dethrone him. After Ptolemy XIII's death, Cleopatra married her other brother Ptolemy XIV, but shortly thereafter had him killed as well. Oh, and then she convinced Mark Antony to kill her sister Arsinoe IV. Ancient times were rough. So I have a sister, and I work with my sister, and I have never felt this kind of rivalry with her, especially when compared to the pair in the top spot on this list. Let's check out some honorable mentions, and then we'll hear their story. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Mary and Anne Boleyn. Not even their parents could have predicted how high Mary and Anne Boleyn would soar in their time among the English aristocracy. A rift between the two began when Anne was chosen to be the maid of honor to the Archduchess Margaret of Austria. Mary was sent to France, where she eventually became the mistress to the king. When she returned to England, she became Henry VIII's mistress and allegedly bore 2 of his children. She was eventually dismissed, and Anne married the king sometime later, driving an even bigger wedge between the two siblings. However, Anne's inability to produce a male heir angered Henry, and he eventually had her killed. Mary, on the other hand, lived out her life in obscurity, so she won? Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.